Two historical events occurred 90 years ago: the establishment of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and the immigration of the Mandel family from Poland to the United States. There would appear to be no connection between these two events. The establishment of the university at the very beginning of the Zionist enterprise was intended to lay the cultural, scientific, and educational cornerstone to the new national center that was built in the land of Israel. The immigration of the Mandel family is a private story. The choice of America as their new home, a choice made by millions of Jews at that time. But in fact, an essential, almost mysterious connection exists between these two events.
As though with a wave of a magic wand, millions of Jews abandoned their old native land in Europe, emigrated and created two new centers, which in the coming century were to become the largest in the world: America and Israel. The instincts of a persecuted people spurred them to flee from the old world before the great Holocaust struck them. The Jews of Poland at that time had a hard life. Poland had just received independence, and Polish nationalists regarded the Jews as collaborators with the hated Habsburgs. The pogroms that struck the Jews of Galicia after World War I were extremely severe, and the only reason we are not aware of this severity is the dark shadow of the Holocaust.
This background makes it clear why the members of the Mandel family, Morton's mother, his two brothers, Jack and Joseph, and his sister, Miriam, Jewish refugees from the village of Kolbuszowa in Poland, left their homeland in 1921 and moved to Cleveland, Ohio.
According to the immigration documents of Ellis Island, their net worth was $1.50. The head of the family, Shmuel, led the way, traveling to America in 1913. But before his family could join him, they were separated by the First World War. Thus, as we see in a mighty fan-like movement, two new paths were opened in the Jewish history of the early 20th century. One path headed eastward to the ancient homeland in the land of Israel, and the other path led westward to the new home in the Golden Medina.
This, however, is not the end of the parallel between the establishment of the Hebrew University in Jerusalem and the immigration of the Mandel family from Poland to the United States. In 1925, a fundraising campaign was held in Poland for the Hebrew University. The Polish police and interior ministry showed great interest in the activity and followed it closely. Poland had gained independence only 7 years earlier, and it was natural for the country's leaders to keep careful track of a minority population which was raising money for a university in a foreign land. The Polish archives show that in two towns in the region around Kolbuszowa, Dobromil and Ternaya, a fundraising event was held in the presence of a large crowd. Many Jewish communities of Poland made generous contributions to the Hebrew University on that occasion.
However, according to a secret report of the mayor, Tadeusz Malinowski, in Kolbuszowa, no festivities or meetings were held, and no speeches were given in honor of the opening of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem.
Indeed, that indifference might be led to the fact that the Mandels had left the town 4 years earlier, so there were no one from the Mandels left in Kolbuszowa to recognize the potential inherent in the establishment of the Hebrew University. Today, the Mandel family has gone far to make up for the indifference of the Jews of Kolbuszowa to the establishment of the Hebrew University in 1925.
Thus, the establishment of the Mandel School at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem today can be thought of as closing a circle. About 90 years after the Mandel family left their poor and precarious life behind them in Poland, they have forged a new connection between those who left Eastern Europe for the New World and those who departed to renew the ancient homeland.
What connects us? What shared memory guides our way? I see Kolbushova as a symbol, an Egypt, from which the Exodus was the passage from slavery to freedom, from darkness to light. The memory of where we came from is the source of Jewish and universal values which bind us together. The lives of our ancestors in those places were bitter and hard, but we have been privileged with the sun of Israel and the light of America. The knowledge that our generation is one of immigrants and survivors who have gained a life of liberty, honor, and abundance guides our common action as we strive to develop the human spirit, human values, and education, and to bring out the best in people.
Morton Mandel is a philanthropist who has devoted the fruits of his financial success to changing the world, to make it better, more cultivated, more just, and more tolerant. These are the values of a child raised in a family of refugees who received the most precious gift of all, human freedom. Mort's Jewish experience gave birth to universal values and commitment to education as a supreme value.
Today, we are inaugurating a unique school, the incarnation of belief in humanity and the goodness in it. This building will house our best students and scholars. We are convinced that amazing things will happen here. People and ideas will meet in this building, and the human spirit will soar. The vision of the Mandel School is to place the encounter between people and ideas at the center of academic activity, in studies and scholarship. This encounter will make the university a warm, humane, thoughtful place of study, bustling with movement and ideas, where the enthusiasm and originality of students will encounter the maturity, knowledge, and experience of their teachers. The school will provide a physical space for multidisciplinary encounters of people of different ages. In the Jewish tradition, this is called Dibuk Chaverim, the joining together of friends. The vision of the Jack, Joseph and Morton Mandel School for Advanced Studies in the Humanities is symbolized by its logo, created by the graphic artist Liat Yehuda, a logo that arouses many rich and significant associations. The logo places the letter M in the center, the initial of the Mandel family name. The letter is designed like the gate of an ancient city, surrounded by a wall, symbolic of the city in which the Mandel School has been established, Jerusalem. In the middle of the gate, above the three columns, is a circle, which symbolizes Jerusalem as the center of the world, the so-called Axis Mundi, as depicted in ancient maps. In one of these, from the 16th century, we see the three continents of Europe, Asia, and Africa like three petals of a flower, with Jerusalem in its center. Those with sharp eyes will notice that America already appears on the map, but it is still on the edge of the world. The logo of the Mandel School consists of two arches, supported by three columns. The three columns of the logo honor the three Mandel siblings who established the foundation, Jack, Joseph, and Morton.
Of the 7 gates of Jerusalem, the one most similar to the logo is the Gate of Mercy, the oldest one in the walls of Jerusalem. According to Jewish tradition, after the destruction of the temple, not only did the Jewish people go into exile, but so too did the Shekhinah, the divine presence. It was driven out of the Holy of Holies through the Gate of Mercy to the Mount of Olives, and from there it rose to heaven. A similar Christian tradition tells that Jesus rose to heaven from the Mount of Olives, 40 days after the crucifixion. The gate of mercy is closed until the end of days, when it will open again and the Messiah will enter it. Both the Jewish and Christian traditions thus see the destruction of the temple as the beginning of a new era, connected to the transition to the Mount of Olives, which looks down on the Temple Mount. This is why it is also called Mount Scopus. It looks down upon the destroyed temple. It is no coincidence that the founders of the Hebrew University wished to place it on a hill overlooking the Temple Mount, thereby declaring that the university was to be the new temple, the temple of knowledge and science, and from it would begin the rebuilding of the Jewish state.
In 1934, the directors of the Jewish National Fund decided to establish a national pantheon in the heart of the Botanical Garden on Mount Scopus, where the great men and women of the nation would be buried. We are standing here in the beautiful Botanical Garden on Mount Scopus. On one side is a new building of the Mandel School. On the other side, inside the garden, is the tomb of the Nicanor's family. Nicanor was a philanthropist from Alexandria who lived 2,000 years ago and who donated a gate, a copper gate, to the temple in Jerusalem.
According to the Talmud, when the doors were brought by ship from Alexandria to Jaffa, a storm arose, and to lighten the load, one of the doors was thrown into the sea. However, miraculously, when the ship reached the port of Jaffa, the door was discovered under its hull.
The two sites, the tombs of Nicanor's family and the Mandel building, now stand just a few dozen meters and 2,000 years apart. They tell the story of two Jewish philanthropists, one from Alexandria, who contributed a gate to the Temple of God, and one from Cleveland, who contributed a gate to the Temple of Knowledge on Mount Scopus. In contrast to the Gate of Mercy, which is closed, the gate of the Mandel School will always be open, and seekers of knowledge and lovers of books will enter it. It will offer them the fruit of the tree of knowledge, whose taste is almost like the Garden of Eden.
Today, we inaugurate a new house in the university, an institution intended for education. In Hebrew, the word used for the inauguration of the temple, Chanukah, is also used to refer to educating people, chinuch. By means of education, we create a new person. The Mandel Foundation and its chairman have made humanistic education in general, and Jewish education in particular, their highest priority. This is a modern temple of the humanities.
Psalms 30 begins. A psalm is sung at the dedication of the house of David. David thanks God for saving him from evil. Weeping may tarry for the night, but joy comes in the morning. Now I had said in my security, I shall never be moved. This verse tells also the story of the Mandel family, which went from days of bitter poverty and cruel pogroms in Poland to days of joy and tranquility. We wish that they, like the psalmist, shall never be moved. The verse also tells us the story of the Jewish people in the past century, the story of departure from darkness into light. The Mandel building in the Hebrew University on Mount Scopus was built by a family whose dream is the education of mankind. Here, in this building, the dream will come true.